Let me paint you a picture. It's Sunday evening. You've had a pretty normal weekend. Nothing crazy, nothing extravagant. You cooked at home, skipped the brunch place your friends were raving about, put a little money into your savings account like you do every month, and as you're sitting there, scrolling through Instagram, you see it. A friend from college just posted photos from Santorini. Blue water, white walls, overpriced cocktails. And for a second, just a second, this quiet little voice in your head whispers, "Am I falling behind?" That feeling. That's what I want to talk about today. Because here's what nobody tells you about building real wealth. It doesn't feel good while it's happening. It doesn't come with applause or a notification that says, "Congratulations, you're on the right track." Most of the time, getting rich, quietly, slowly, sustainably, feels almost invisible. It feels like boring Sundays and skipped brunches and saying no to things that look fun on someone else's highlight reel. And if that's where you are right now, I want you to stay with me, because I'm going to show you 8 signs that you're already doing it right, even if it doesn't feel that way yet. My name is Finn, and this channel, FinSense, exists for one reason: to help you understand not just what to do with money, but why we make the decisions we make, and how to slowly, quietly, shift those decisions in your favor. We've been taught to think about wealth wrong. From the time we were kids, wealth had a very specific look. Big houses, nice cars, vacations. The guy at the office with the Rolex, the influencer with the penthouse view. We absorbed this image so deeply that most of us, even consciously aware adults, still use visible spending as our mental barometer for financial success. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The people who look the richest are often the furthest from it. And the people who are actually genuinely building something, you'd never know by looking at them. Real wealth is quiet. It doesn't post. It doesn't flex. It just compounds. Slowly, patiently, almost boringly. And because it doesn't look like what we expect wealth to look like, a lot of people doing everything right still feel like they're failing. That's what I want to fix today. Not your portfolio, not your income, your perception of progress. Because once you understand what real financial momentum actually looks and feels like, you stop second-guessing yourself every time someone else's life looks shinier than yours. The first sign is one of the most overlooked because it feels so ordinary. You've learned to live below your means, and you actually don't mind it. Now, I'm not talking about suffering. I'm not talking about eating plain rice and never going out. I'm talking about something more subtle than that. You've built a life where your spending is mostly intentional, where you don't feel this constant pull to upgrade, impress, or keep up. And because of that, without even thinking about it, you spend less than you earn every month. Think about 2 people. Let's call them Finn and Marcus. Both make $75,000 a year. Finn spends $55,000. Marcus spends $80,000. From the outside, Marcus looks more successful. He's got the nicer apartment, the better wardrobe, the weekend trips. But that $20,000 gap that Finn quietly maintains every year, that's not just savings, that's options. That's the ability to invest, to say no to bad opportunities, to walk away from situations that don't serve him. The point isn't deprivation, the point is margin. When your life costs less than you earn, you're not poor, you're building. And that gap, even if it's small, is one of the most important financial habits you can ever have. The second sign is about how you think about time. You started thinking in years, maybe decades, not just weeks. Most people are chasing the next thing, the next bonus, the next opportunity, the next hot stock their coworker mentioned at lunch. But somewhere along the way, you shifted. You stopped asking, "How do I make money fast?" and started asking, "Where do I want to be in 10 years, and what do I need to do consistently to get there?" That shift is enormous. Because compounding, real compounding, doesn't reward speed, it rewards patience and consistency. Finn puts $500 a month into index funds. He doesn't check the account obsessively. When the market drops, he doesn't panic. He keeps contributing. Over 20 years, that discipline turns $120,000 in contributions into something closer to $350,000 in actual wealth. Not because he was smart, not because he timed the market, just because he stayed consistent long enough for time to do its work. Meanwhile, Marcus is jumping from thing to thing. Crypto in 2021, day trading in 2022. He's not lazy, he's actually working hard. But he never stays in one place long enough to benefit from compounding. He's constantly starting over. If you're playing the long game, even if the short-term results feel slow, you are already doing what the majority of people won't. Third sign, and this one matters a lot more than people realize. You've built a financial buffer, and you don't talk about it. There's no brag for this, no Instagram post, but quietly, somewhere in a savings account that isn't your checking account, there's money sitting there that you don't need to touch. An emergency fund, a cushion, a few months of breathing room. This might sound boring, but let me tell you what that buffer actually does to your life. It changes the way you make decisions. When your car breaks down, it's an inconvenience, not a catastrophe. When your company announces layoffs, it's stressful, but not terrifying. Finn has $20,000 sitting in a high-yield savings account. When an unexpected expense hits, he handles it. He has time to think instead of panic. Poor Marcus has maybe $300 in savings. Every surprise, and life is full of surprises, becomes a financial emergency. The car repair goes on a card. The card accrues interest. The interest adds up. One bad month turns into a bad year. If you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved right now, you're in a better financial position than the majority of households in this country. That's not a small thing. That is a genuine foundation. Here's one that surprised me when I first noticed it in myself. Your income has gone up, and your lifestyle mostly hasn't. You got a raise, maybe a promotion. Maybe you picked up a side income that actually worked out. And something interesting happened. You didn't immediately upgrade your apartment. You didn't go buy a car that matched your new salary. You put most of that extra money somewhere it could grow. Economists call this lifestyle inflation, a tendency to spend more as you earn more so your savings rate stays flat, even as your income rises. It's one of the quietest wealth killers there is, because it feels justified. You earned that raise, you deserve that upgrade, and you do. But there's a difference between occasionally treating yourself and reflexively matching every income increase with an equivalent spending increase. Finn made $60,000 at 28 and lived on $45,000. He got promoted to $80,000 at 32 and lived on $48,000. That extra $32,000 a year didn't go to a nicer lifestyle. It went into his investment account. By 40, he's sitting on close to $300,000 in accumulated wealth. Marcus had the same income journey, but every raise brought a new apartment, a new car payment, a new subscription he justified because he could afford it now. By 40, he has $35,000 saved. He feels successful. His lifestyle upgraded. But financially, he barely moved. When your first instinct after a raise is, how much more can I invest, instead of what can I buy now? That's a sign you've leveled up. Not just financially, but psychologically. I want to pause here for a second, because I think this is where the conversation gets interesting. Everything we've talked about so far is behavior, habits, decisions. But underneath all of it, there's a deeper shift happening. A shift in identity, in how you see yourself in relation to money. Most people relate to money from a place of scarcity. Even people who earn a lot. They're always chasing, always anxious, always reacting. Money is something that happens to them. It comes, it goes. They're just along for the ride. But the people who are quietly getting rich, they've made a different choice. They've decided to be the author of their financial story, instead of just a character in it. And that shift changes everything. Which brings me to sign 5. You've stopped comparing yourself to other people. This is harder than it sounds, because comparison is everywhere. Your coworker bought a new car. Your friend just got engaged and announced a destination wedding. Someone from high school is posting about their new house. And the question that bubbles up, even when you don't want it to, is, should I be further along than this? But here's what nobody tells you about visible wealth. Most of it is borrowed. Most of it is financed. Most of it is coming at the direct cost of someone's future financial security. Finn sees a friend post about a $60,000 truck. His thought is genuinely, I hope that makes him happy. No envy, no anxiety. He knows his 12-year-old Toyota and his growing investment portfolio are the smarter play for his goals. Marcus sees the same truck and starts calculating whether he can afford the payments. 2 years later, he's underwater on a loan he never needed, stressed about a monthly payment that has nothing to do with his actual life goals. When you stop using other people's choices as a benchmark for your own, you become immune to some of the most powerful forces that keep people financially stuck. Marketing, peer pressure, FOMO. Those forces only work when you're looking sideways. The moment you focus on your own plan, your own timeline, your own values, they lose their grip. Sign 6 is one of the quietest signs on this list. Money has stopped being the main character in your mental life. When you're financially stressed, money dominates everything. Every decision carries this invisible weight. Can I afford this? Should I have bought that? What if something goes wrong? The mental math is constant. The anxiety is exhausting. It bleeds into your sleep, your relationships, and your ability to just be present. But as you build real financial stability, even modest, unglamorous stability, something changes. Money starts moving to the background, not because you're rich, but because you've built systems, automatic savings, automated bills, a simple investment strategy you actually understand. Once those things are in place, you don't need to think about money every day. It runs quietly in the background while you think about other things. Finn's finances run on autopilot, automatic contributions, automatic transfers. He rebalances once a year, and otherwise, he lets it run. His mental energy is freed up. He thinks about his relationships, his work, and the projects he actually cares about. Marcus is different. Marcus is constantly managing money manually because he has no real system. He's always chasing deals, always stressed about the balance, always one unexpected expense away from a problem. He talks about money constantly, not because he's building wealth, because he's exhausted from not having a structure that works without his constant attention. This shift from money as a source of daily stress to money as a background system is a genuine sign of financial progress. It's quiet. You won't notice it all at once, but one day, you'll realize you've gone 2 weeks without checking your bank account in panic mode. And that is something. Sign 7 hits differently once you've actually felt it. You're starting to value time more than things. This is one of those shifts that sounds almost too philosophical until you experience it. But somewhere along the way, as your financial situation stabilizes, you start realizing that the real luxury isn't a bigger apartment or a designer bag. It's time, white space in your calendar, the ability to say no to things that drain you. When you're financially stressed, you trade time for money out of necessity. You take the extra shift. You say yes to everything. You hustle because you have no choice. But as you stabilize, you start recognizing that some of the most valuable things money can buy aren't objects, they're hours. Finn pays someone to clean his apartment once a month, not because he's extravagant, but because those 3 hours buy him something he can't get back. Focused time on something he actually cares about. Marcus still does everything himself to save money. His weekends are packed, he's busy and exhausted, and technically saving a few dollars. But he's spending his most finite resource in ways that don't really align with what he wants his life to look like. This isn't about being lazy. It's about recognizing that at some point, your time becomes worth more than the money you're saving. That realization is a quiet but real sign of financial maturity. And the last sign, maybe the most important one, you've stopped making excuses and started taking ownership of your financial life. This one's a little uncomfortable, so I'll say it gently, but there's a very specific shift that happens in the psychology of people who quietly build wealth. They stop explaining why their situation is someone else's fault, and they start focusing entirely on what they can actually control. Now, I want to be careful here, because the challenges are real. Rent is genuinely expensive. Student loans are a real burden. Wages haven't kept up with the cost of living in most places. None of that is invented. The system is hard. I'm not dismissing that. But there's a difference between acknowledging hard circumstances and using them as reasons to stay stuck. Finn makes $65,000 a year in an expensive city. Instead of spending his energy complaining about rent prices, he finds a roommate to cut housing costs. He bikes to work. He meal preps. He's not suffering. He's optimizing. He's working within his constraints instead of being paralyzed by them. When someone asks why he lives simply, he doesn't apologize. He's clear. I'm building my investment portfolio first. The luxury apartment can wait. Marcus makes the same $65,000 and has a long list of reasons why he can't save. And again, some of those reasons are completely valid, but they've become the story he tells himself. And 5 years later, Finn has $85,000 invested and a growing sense of control over his life. Marcus has $4,000 saved and a very detailed explanation for why it's not his fault. Ownership isn't about blame, it's about agency. When you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start making moves with what you have, that's when things start to change. So, where do you actually start? Honestly, start with one thing. If you haven't tracked your spending in the last 30 days, do that first. Not to judge yourself, just to see clearly. Because you can't build a margin you don't know you have. If you have no financial buffer, start there. Even $1,000 changes how you respond to unexpected expenses. It doesn't have to be 3 months overnight. If you've been jumping from financial strategy to financial strategy, try committing to one simple approach for 12 months. An index fund, a savings habit, one clear goal. And then just let it run. The things that move the needle most aren't complicated. They're boring. They're consistent. They work slowly and then suddenly all at once, which is exactly how compounding works. Here's what I want you to take away from this. If you recognized yourself in any of these 8 signs, even just 1 or 2, you're not behind. You're building. And the reason it doesn't feel like it is because real financial progress is almost completely invisible in the short term. It doesn't look like a Santorini vacation. It doesn't look like a new truck or a designer anything. It looks like a quiet Sunday, where you cooked at home and moved a little money into savings, and felt, for just a moment, like maybe you were falling behind. But you weren't. You were doing the work. And the gap between where you are now and where you want to be, it closes one boring, unsexy, excellent decision at a time. Progress beats perfection. Every single time. I'm Finn. This is FinSense, and I'll see you in the next one.